Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to those of you who are tuning in via our YouTube live stream. It's such a pleasure to see you all here. My name is Alex Minami. I am the Community Engagement Manager here at Seattle Opera. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you, and it's also my pleasure to welcome all of our wonderful panelists here today. We have a few of our wonderful cast members from our upcoming production of Blue, whom you'll get to hear from in just a moment. And we're especially grateful to have with us Dr. Quinton Morris as our moderator. Just a few words of introduction about him before we get started. Dr. Quinton Morris is a member of the music faculty at Seattle University. He is also the founder and executive director of Key to Change, and he serves as the inaugural Artist Scholar in Residence at Classical King FM 98.1, our neighbors here in this building. And for Classical King FM, he also hosts the Unmute the Voices program, which you can tune into and hear every third Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Before we get going in earnest here, I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the ancestral homeland of the Coast Salish people, in particular the Duwamish, and we make this acknowledgement as a reminder to strive for respectful partnerships with all people as we search for collective healing and true reconciliation. All right, well, I think we're about ready to begin, and we have a special gift for you all. We are going to begin by hearing a little bit of music from this opera. Please join me in welcoming all of our panelists here today. Thank you so much.
That's saying something. He looked at me, I looked at him. I heard him say, he said to me, it's you I want, I must have you, go figure. Not a clue.
Hello. Hello, my son. It's your daddy. He hears me. He's laughing. Look, he's taking a hold of my finger. Hello, my son, my baby boy. You are my son. You make me cry. Didn't want to have you. Now for you I'd die. I'd die. Oh, your mama's mouth. Oh, you have my nose. You've got all your little fingers. I've counted all your toes. I love your seashell ears. I love your wisp of hair. Your big brown eyes that seem to stare. With little fingers you grasp my thumb. Everything that moves inside of me goes numb. My son, my little baby boy, my all the world, my pride and joy. Oh, what a gift, so rare, so sweet, so fine. He'll bring our lives a lift. No rifts between us now. He's yours, he's ours, he's mine. Oh, what a gift, so rare, so sweet, so fine. Let's start a promise that we will never part. Entwine this child within our hearts. He's yours, he's ours, he's mine. My child, my boy, my son. He's mine.
Wonderful. What a great performance, the two of you. Okay, so I just gotta ask. Were you in character, Briana, while he was singing to you?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
I guess so, because you looked at me, so I was like,
You
okay.
was looking, he was looking, and then you were looking like.
I didn't know I was in the scene today, but I am.
I was like, okay, what is really going on? I mean, there's like clearly some sort of like great chemistry between the two of you that like after you sung, which was beautiful, both of you did a fantastic job, but you came back, you sat down, and he kind of looked at you and kind of did this like little wink, and then you kind of like went to character, and I was like, okay for the staging.
It's fine. We worked on that scene today too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So that's
so
part
it's
of it.
fresh.
Yeah.
So and it's funny because I was like, oh, it's like kind of like I was thinking of other actors who kind of have that on-stage chemistry, and I was thinking about Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne, and I was thinking not just about like what's love got to do with it, but I was thinking Boys in the Hood,
Yeah.
Yep.
like way back in the day,
yeah.
right? And so I was like, wow, that's really cool that the musicianship and just the chemistry that was happening here, that you just kind of fed into it, and it was like, and you were just, both of y'all, it was really great to watch and experience.
Well, we're making an experience for you guys, so you know.
But you're making it for yourselves too, right? Because
it's interesting when you do a piece, like especially when you do the piece for the first time, and she originated the role, I originated the role, you automatically build that chemistry. And when I sing this aria, I see her face. I see my family, that blue family that you've built along the way, and all those emotions that you've discovered and gone through during the whole process are there, and they're attached to her. So when I have another mother, I just did a piece with another mother. Like I had to build that connection with her, and it feels totally different. It feels very different.
so you prefer the second baby mama over the first one?
He's causing trouble already.
He is causing trouble.
Oh, and on that note, I guess I should introduce everyone here. But I had to say that because I think, especially with new music, new works, right? I think we can all agree that there's kind of this misconception that they're all bad or that people kind of get turned off by new music. And so you do kind of have to sell it, right? And especially when audiences have been so traditionally learned to only appreciate the classics, that when a new work comes out, people are like, I don't know. And I thought you both did just a fantastic job. Obviously, the music was great, but I was really in it. I was really in it for those few minutes. And so I really just appreciated you not only bringing yourselves to the performance, but also even piquing my curiosity more to want to learn more about the story. So bravo.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for that little side note. I just felt like I had to say that to both of you as a musician as well, how great it was. So I'm Dr. Quinton Morris, and I am artist scholar in residence here at King FM, and we're joined today by mother Briana Hunter, father Kenneth Kellogg, and son Joshua Stewart. So welcome, you guys, here to Seattle. This is my hometown, so I'm so glad to see other black people in my city.
I'm happy to see that there's black people
I'm glad
here.
y'all here. Please don't leave. No, I'm really glad that you guys are here, and I'm so excited to talk to you about this opera and not only just like, we'll talk obviously about what it means to you and that sort of thing, but I'm also curious about your thoughts around legacy, because you're building a legacy of this opera that will live much further on beyond all of us. And so really this is also history in the making that I really appreciate. And so I guess my first question to the three of you is, have you thought about the legacy of Blue, and what do you want your impact to be on the legacy of this opera? Or have you thought about it? Let's start with the son.
Hi. Yeah, so I mean, I think I've thought about it the most because I'm new to this production. They've originated each of their roles. I'm new. So for me, it's been really interesting trying to understand who this person is from my own viewpoint, because then I can tap into something greater and hopefully portray a real person, even though everyone is nameless. It's good to have that space. So I'm excited. We're going to do our scene tomorrow, so I'm excited to see what that becomes, because each artist brings a different energy every day, so especially a different person brings something different. So I'm excited, yeah.
I think the easiest way, there's a number of ways you can answer that question. I think the easiest answer for myself is that before Blue, I got to a point in my career where I was bored. But I was at a point where I felt like opera wasn't speaking to me as a black man and wasn't speaking to issues that I really cared about. And now Blue came, right, at the height of a lot of murders of black men and black bodies in this country, men and women. And they were all trying to figure out what to do. And I was traveling the world singing opera.
Right.
And it felt like a privilege for me. And I wasn't serving my community in the way that I wanted to. And I thought about quitting opera. I mean, there's a lot of interest I have, and serving is a huge part of that. So I thought about quitting opera to go back to be of better service to my community specifically. I thought about social work, I thought about going to law school, I thought about teaching, all the things where I could have a more direct impact. And opera wasn't doing that. And then I got presented with Blue. And it was at that point that I realized that I could do what I do and still serve. And Blue allowed me that vehicle to speak to my community specifically and to speak to society. And so Blue is that for me, and that's the legacy I want for Blue.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would build upon it and say, yeah, what excited me, I mean, I was excited about the text. I was excited to portray a black woman of today that wasn't very far from me. It wasn't hard to jump into this role and to find all these tiny nuggets of truth and even more nuggets of truth. And that's what's so cool about doing this. I find something like even more relevant, like eerily relevant every time I do the show. And it's how excited my community and family was to see me in the show and how they respond versus they've always been proud of me, but it's kind of like, oh, she does opera. But now it's like, no, she does thing. I get to participate in something that speaks to them, that speaks to them so directly and immediately, and it's exciting to finally have your family come and be excited to come and understand what, and have it be in English, all that stuff. And yeah, I think we are at a very interesting nexus of, when Blue was being written, of course, those murders and killings were happening, and then you flash forward to we couldn't have predicted 2020,
Right.
and it became even more scarily relevant. And so I think the stories that are coming out and continue to be told, I like to think we're going to be a part of what people will look back on as a surge of new works that came out of social justice issues, again, like opera originally kind of had been in its inception. And I think that's a really cool thing to be a part of. And I think, we're in the middle of it now, but I think in hindsight, we're going to look back on this and be like, wow, we were one of, the first operas to really speak to these issues at the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because when I think of kind of the black legends, like Leontine Price, whose 95th birthday
Happy
is today,
birthday, girl.
right? Who Samuel Barber wrote Antony and Cleopatra, that she premiered at the new Metropolitan Opera in, 1968, I believe? And so, thinking about this opera, and in a way, you guys are not only just debuting, but you're making history that we'll be reading about for years and years and years to come. And so how does that, as an artist, as a citizen of the universe, as a student of opera, make you feel, knowing that you are having a direct impact on the art that others will read about and study, etc.? Who wants to take that first?
I mean, I'll just say it's a dream
Yeah.
come true.
You know, I say to people all the time, and especially to young students who are just getting into the field, I said, you know, when I was training, I couldn't have imagined an opera like Blue. Like it was not even a thought in my mind that something like this would come along. I was thinking I'm gonna sing all the, you know, I knew I was gonna sing, you know, the Carmens and the Rosinas and the Octavians, all those things, and I was like ready to do all of that. And here comes like literally just like a dream role,
Right.
a defining role, like a life-altering thing. And I think it doesn't happen to everyone all the time, every day. So that's awesome and incredibly special.
Yeah, I mean, it's really special, but it makes me want more.
Yeah.
Makes
More
me,
how?
I don't want Blue to be the only one.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it makes me want more. And yeah, I don't think I've accepted that it's history yet, because it's still happening. I just want to make sure it's not the only one.
Yeah. How do you make sure that it's not the only one? What's your responsibility in that?
As an artist, my job is to push for those works to be done. Like literally. I was watching the news 2 days ago, and I saw the news that happened in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I called up the director of Minnesota Opera. It's like, you need to do Blue. Like, your community needs Blue more than any right now. So it's to be an advocate. It's an advocate for arts to speak to what we're going through now. So I see my job as not just an artist, but also an advocate, and you know, pushing where I can to make things happen.
I think it's also, I mean, I'll just say, I also write, and I think it made me feel more of a responsibility to tell stories. Especially, you know, having been a part of this piece and seeing the impact, it just inspired me even more. And so being an advocate for what exists, and also maybe creating things that don't exist.
What was the question?
How do you feel about being a part of history?
A part of history, I mean, time will tell, right? I think it's, I agree with you, Kenneth. This shouldn't be the only thing. We need more. And the thing about it, it's not that this should be a unique situation, this piece. The job of opera is to actually tell the story of the people. So this opera happening just proves that we do exist. So it's nice to have this art form actually acknowledge us in a real way. But yeah, I think it has to continue because we do exist, and there are many stories, and not only tragedies, that are part of our story. So I think more. I would love to see some comedies. I want to see some verismo. I want to see, you know, all the things that we do for a living done even more, you know. I want even more of it. So yeah, this is the beginning, hopefully, of a very, very long period of time where we're actually included.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I'm also curious, Briana and Kenneth, you guys have done this, these roles before, as both father and mother, and I'm curious, how have you grown as people doing these roles? And more specifically, how have you changed since starting the role, and how have your characters evolved, if at all? I'm going deep.
This is
That's
good.
deep.
Is it good?
Yeah.
We were just talking about this, actually.
Yeah.
Can I go first? Sure.
Who going first? Mama, you going first?
You're going first. Ladies first.
So, okay, that's a few questions, right? And one.
Yeah.
I think I remember saying this or feeling this the first time, or when we were trying to do it again in DC, and then obviously COVID hit and we had to cancel, but I do feel like a different artist. Like, I do fundamentally feel different about how I tackle any role now. The way I connected to this person, this character, and mined out, like I say, mined out bits of truth, because it is like you just keep digging. Like, each time you come to any role, I think for me, I find new it speaks to me in different ways, and I discover even more, yeah, just deep truths about that person that I can communicate and that I can be a conduit for. And that, like, now I won't accept anything other than, like, the visceral kind of, like, intensity of this role. And so it's affected the way I tackle everything else. I think I've grown in that just the sheer fact that the music just settles into your body in a certain way after you do it over, multiple times. You feel a little bit more secure. You feel like you can take different risks, different chances, make different choices, and not kind of completely fall out of the pace of the show. Yeah, it gives me, it's interesting, she's taught me a lot about just like how, like, grief and joy, the presence of both in one's life, how it can be, she starts at the highest of highs and then goes to the lowest of the lows. And her being a vessel for all of that, I don't know, I'm always in conversation with her. I know it sounds weird, but about even when things go on in my life, just how to handle that. So yeah, it's a conversation. It's a constant conversation. It's one that I feel so honored to be able to continue to have with my character, and I really, I just feel so blessed.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think before Blue, and every role that I performed before Blue, I felt like I was performing. I was just acting, just playing a part that I couldn't really get into the skin of. Like, I could do the readings, I could understand them, I could try to put myself in a certain situation, a certain scenario. And Blue, like, there was no guessing. I didn't have to try to figure out. Like, I innately, viscerally knew who this person was. So you feel it in your soul. Like, you feel this role in your soul. You feel the pain. You feel the joy. You feel every single emotion. You feel all the nuance of the character that you don't have to guess. So I remember the first role I did after Blue. I called Briana, I was like, this doesn't feel good. Now this feels hollow. I feel like I'm acting. So to Briana's point, after having that experience of not feeling a character, I thus go back to Blue and all of the emotions and all the nuance and all of that soul feeling that I had, and try to infuse that in every other character. And if I can't find that in that character, then I know, like, I need to dig deeper and find something that really speaks to me.
Do you all go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I think that speaks to doing operas and roles that look like you, that tell your story. I think you can find that as an artist better than trying to be a guest in another scenario.
Do you all know your characters in real life? Like, do you know someone who is like your character?
I think it's kind of like a combination of people to me, given in any given moment.
How so?
Like,
What do you mean?
it's interesting. I definitely, when we talk about Act 2, I studied a lot of we were consuming all of this media in real time, so that's also what's really terrifying. But like the mothers of like Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, like we saw that Trayvon Martin, like we saw them on television a lot, saw the funerals of, like some of the televised funerals. It's like, I would study their faces all the time. It made me more kind of like aware and in tune with like every detail, the way they compose themselves, all the different ways it could look, what falling apart could look like, what that kind of loss could look like. And then what would that look like in private? So yeah, it's a few things. And in the beginning, I mean, she's a lot of different people to me. Sometimes she's me, you know? So I think, yeah, it's just kind of, I know it's interesting. I don't want it to be, they're archetypes, right? We have archetypal names. So it's not like, oh, Susan, Josh, you know, whatever. It's, we are representatives of something, of a lot of different things and a lot of different people. And I just wanted to, but those are, so I picked real people to me, and definitely use that, but I don't know. Does that answer the question at all? It's like a hard.
Blue is closely, like the father is closely related to me. Like all those emotions, all those tears. Like I am a father, and when I was first presented with Blue, like I was a new father. So a lot of the conversations that happened in the libretto, like I was having with my wife. Wow. A lot of those fears I was having, like all the joys, like it was so personal. It mirrored my life in so many different ways. And you know, dealing with the tragedy, it was like living my worst nightmare over and over and over again in rehearsal, which thus, you know, made me go home and hold my son that much closer, you know, hold my family that much closer, and you know, realize, you know, my responsibility, not just to my own son, but to society. And you know, I'm a dad, and I speak at a lot of dad conferences. And I did a keynote speech when I was in DC during Blue. And I think I close with the phrase or with the idea that, you know, we often, as parents, we think about preparing, you know, our kids for the world. You know, we think about, you know, teaching them rules and giving them, you know, the roadmaps, but we never really think about changing the world for our kids and being that vehicle for change in the world so that your kids have an easier time. So Blue definitely gave me that insight and that impetus to be that change in the world that I wanted to see for my kid, my son, at the time.
Wow. So
And he was in the show.
And he was in the show, yeah.
Oh, his
yeah.
son was in the show?
Yeah, when we originally did it, he had a little cameo. So he was on set.
He was.
So how was that? Like,
it was amazing. I mean, it was amazing and it was terrifying. It was a lot of things, you know, because this opera, you know, goes from the highest high to the lowest low. But you know, to be a singer, to be able to share that with, just on a personal level, to be able to share that with my son and with my family was absolutely gratifying, you know, because we often leave our families at home. But to have my son and my family with me at Glimmer Glass for the premiere was special. Wow. And we had a lot of bonding time dealing with what we were dealing with in rehearsals.
that's so great. I'm curious, you've said this now a couple of times about that this is an opera that has real high highs and then real low lows. Should people be afraid of the opera or the story?
No. As a patron, for me, as someone going to the theater or going to see a movie or listening to music, like I want to feel something. Like I want to feel, like, for me personally, I don't mind if I'm wrecked leaving the theater.
Well, let me be more specific. I mean, it's not like, I mean, this isn't like Salome, right? Or
no,
like,
no, it's not
right?
Salome.
But this is like based off of like real life current events, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think when most people go to an opera, there's this kind of fantasy that even if it's, you know, right? But this is actual, like, based off of real life events that are happening right now. And so that's why I ask, do you think people should be afraid? Or what if people are afraid to come and see this? Like, what's kind of your response to that of people coming to experience this opera?
Well, you're gonna you know, if we're doing our jobs right, you're going to feel a
Gonna
lot of
feel
things. You know, I think, and I agree with Ken, I think that's the point of art in a lot of ways, is you go to feel something, to have an experience. Yeah, I think, don't be afraid. I mean, sure, everybody has, like, you know, when I go home after work, sometimes I don't want to watch the drama. I want to watch a comedy. Like, sure, we're all going to have days where we're not in the mood for a certain thing. But I think it's so essential for collective healing. Like, I think there was such a big, I know for us as a cast, and, you know, Josh, you're going to experience this with us now too, is we got so close because we literally had to hold each other up sometimes. We were going through a very, like, cathartic experience, like almost sometimes felt like you were exercising demons right there and there. But it pulled us together as a community, and it helped us kind of, I mean, the humanity of this story, like, it's just a human story.
Yeah.
Like, people can relate to the birth of a child and the joy that is, to falling in love, to all of those things. Like, they're very, and they're in a context that you're going to recognize with people that I think everyone will recognize. You asked me, like, who are they? Who is the mother in my life? You know, I think there's lots of different people, and I think for the audience watching, they're going to see a lot of different people that they know. And I think that makes it so, it's not, you know, oh, a biblical figure from thousands of years ago. It's probably your neighbor or somebody you grabbed coffee with this morning, or, you know, it's, I think it's just so important to discuss these issues, not just in, you know, talking boxes on television, but to go to the theater and have the experience as a communal event with other people. And it helps the healing process, and it helps us cope with what is going on in the world.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I think the high and the low lows is that you really, like, when you first see this family, you fall in love with them. You know, you fall in love with them because you can see yourself in them. And it takes you on a journey. And that journey it's a difficult one. I mean, it's not graphic, it's not violent, but it's an emotional one. It's an emotional trip as opposed to, like, a fearful trip. And it's emotions that, you know, are hard. And sometimes we don't want to talk about or can't talk about. But the music of this piece, the words of this piece, they take you there.
Wow.
That's a good point too, Leah. There isn't, like, violence in the show.
There's
Just
no
so
violence.
people know that.
It's not like Fear Factor. I mean, it's not.
No,
there's no
it's
fearful.
not.
It's the emotional journey that's difficult.
Is there a call to action
No.
through the story or through this opera? Is there a call to action for the audience member to do something? Or is there something you would like for the audience to do after seeing this opera?
I don't think Blue is a call to action opera. I've described Blue in other situations as a tool for empathy. I think often when we see the headlines of, you know, police shootings or of violence, we can disconnect from it. We can separate our emotions because it's on the screen 1 second and gone the next. We don't have to connect. Blue allows time to slow down a bit and takes you on this journey that allows you to empathize with a community and with a family that you often try to separate yourself from.
Anybody else want to add to that? What do you think over there?
I see you over there, baby.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, there's no blame, there's no call to action, there's no like you're gonna get out and riot after. Like it literally is. It's just it's all heart and all soul, and more than anything, you'll probably sit and cry and think about what you just saw.
Wow.
I hope that people take action, though. Me, personally.
What do you want them to do?
That's
Briana?
who I am.
What,
But there's
what
nothing in
action
the
do you
libretto
want-
that says go
no,
do this.
no,
You know?
but I think you're right. That's what your immediate
Yeah, I mean, definitely raises
experience will
awareness.
be. But I like to think and hope that maybe after you've processed it, you think about what you can do in your own community, and that can look like a variety of different things, depending on where you're from and what your gifts are and how you choose to engage. But I would hope that people would engage in some way eventually.
Yeah.
And is it, and maybe not a call to action, but maybe thinking of it as awareness, right?
For sure.
And so what do you want people who view this opera, what do you want them to be aware of? What do you want them to be aware of, or what do you want them to feel, or what do you want them to feel or be aware of?
My initial response to that would be an awareness of the humanity of a people, the awareness of the humanity of who some may call a victim or some may call a thug. I want people to be aware of the humanity of people behind the headlines.
Okay. All three of you have been studying opera and singing for a long time. What do you guys like or love about opera? Can you just
This is easy for me.
can you totally geek out and tell me what do you love about the occupation of being an opera singer?
I mean, this is opera is so amazing because my background is in jazz. So to have opera be the thing that kind of took me out of this jazz world, opera had to be good. I was amazed that people were singing without microphones. Just the basics of what phonation is as an opera singer. I think it's a miracle. To hear voices unamplified with acoustic instruments, 60 people, 70 people sometimes, and you can still hear the voice clearly. It really shows, to me, I don't know, that moment when I realized, wow, there's no mic, wow, that's cool, and I love that opera has the opportunity to capture these fantastic stories. All operas, people are interesting. Nobody in an opera is kind of boring. It's literally interesting people being interesting, so we have to write about these people. So I love that quality. It captures the craziest characters, these moments in time where sometimes it's just a day and you have just every kind of disaster just happened. Yeah, opera's amazing. It's really cool, and I love that now they're finally doing Black stories because we live such colorful lives. It's amazing to do. This is my second role as playing a Black guy, and it gets better and better. It's amazing to actually sing yourself in a way, I love it. It's great.
What do you guys love about opera? What do you love?
I gotta think, sorry.
Yeah, just I think the blood and guts of it, when I love the experience of singing. The feeling of singing is amazing. The feeling of no amplification, nothing between me and who I'm communicating with. You are getting all of it, and it's coming from the depth. And it is a miracle. You're how? In halls 10, 3 times as big as this. It's crazy. And to be an audience member, I love being an audience member for opera and having all of that hit me. It's the sensation of sound in that way is just incredible. So then on top of that, you get an amazing story. It's funny, I think one of the first operas I saw at the Met when I was a student in New York was Trovatore, and I purposely didn't read the synopsis. And so I really experienced it in time, and I was like, she did what? She threw the baby where? I was legitimately, it was like watching the best soap opera ever, while Dolores Sajak just pummeled me with like her incredible instrument. And I was like, I need this in my life at all times. This is incredible. And it's an incredible group of people. It's an incredible community. We talk about community, you know, Black community, singing community, the music community, like just getting to come to a city like this and meet other opera lovers and other opera singers and pianists and music directors and conductors and people who are just as excited to create art with you is awesome. So I love all of it.
Yeah. I would say the same thing. I mean, it's, the act of singing it's a feeling like none other. To be on stage and be able to connect with the story and see the audience get it, and that connection, that give and take is, yeah, I don't get any other feeling like that in anything else I do. I've tried to quit so many times. I've tried to quit singing so many times.
Wow. How have you
But
tried
there's
to quit?
nothing that like gives me, because I love a lot of things. I love a lot of things.
Yeah.
And singing it's a challenge sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't feel great. Sometimes you're not getting the work that you feel like you want to do. And you try to do other things. But like everything I've tried just doesn't compare to that feeling. So
We're all kind of addicts. It's like weird. Like once you get that like really good hit, then you're like constantly searching for it. It's true.
So do you guys have any sort of quirky ways that you prepare? Do you, like, I don't know, have a shot of Hennessy before you go perform? Do you go shopping at Nordstrom's before, you know? Like, what, do you have any sort of, like, and I'm asking on behalf of the people.
I feel like you're looking directly at me, and I feel
I'm looking at all
I feel like very attacked.
No, but I'm serious because I think that people, you know, as an audience member, you only see like, right, kind of the finished product, but actually a lot of people don't know there's a lot that goes into being an opera singer, right? You got to get coached in languages and diction and, you know, all these things, right? But is there anything that you guys, that you have to do as individuals to like get you to 100 real quick? Or is there like some sort of, I don't know, just thing that you do to help you be settled as a singer for you to do your best work? I don't know. Is there, and there may not be anything.
I know for me, like on the day of a show, like I just need like absolute stillness. Like I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk. I don't want to, like, I just need stillness. And I'm like a ball of nerves. I just need to feel all of that. And that moment that I'm standing on the edge of the stage, like about to go in, like it's like a cannonball, you know. It's like, all right, it's time to go, you know. And I'm a totally different person on stage than when I get off stage. So it's that, like, for me, it's that quiet and then that eruption that I just take onto stage that I have to have on a performance day.
What do you do,
Yeah.
Briana?
I think I'm pretty similar. I need peace. I need to do something physical though. Like I personally, so I have a dog and I love her probably more than anything in the world. Ken knows this. But we like to go on walks sometimes, and when we're in new cities or new places, hikes, hopefully, like if there's something, I always like to find the park or like get into nature a little bit, and that's how I find my peace. But same, it's like, I would say like stillness of the mind for me. Like I like to, I don't like to think about or do too much else that day or book myself for anything else that day. And it is kind of like an explosion. Like I am I'm pretty chill most of the day, but then like on stage, it's like, it's a completely different human being that's speaking to you. Yeah, and I think that's, I don't know, I think that's it. What else?
Kind of like your alter ego comes out on stage.
Oh, yeah.
Who is that? Who's that person? Who's your alter ego?
Oh, man. There's probably a few.
Oh,
Depending on
okay.
who's called on. Depending on the role, like, depending on who we need. she comes forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got like a little library, a little stash.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll go with it. What about you, Josh?
Okay, let's think. The day of a performance, I always think of things like mind, body, spirit. So I need to tap into all of that. So I like to do something physical, I don't know, like elliptical, train, like some kind of thing, just to like get the body awake and where I have awareness physically. Also doing nothing. Like besides that, like as far as physicality, I'm nothing at all. But then I try, like personally, my goal for singing opera has always been to bring as many colors as possible to the most boring, like whatever thing it may be, or whatever the standard or tradition has like dictated. I'm always like, this could be more colorful. So I've always tried to do that. So I do lots of exercises to access as many colors that my voice as an instrument can access. So I can bring it to whatever I am phonating in front of someone. Because I think that is what touches an audience. We've been conditioned now to expect all of that. We want everything because that's the world we live in. You can have literally everything. So I try to give that to the audience. I try to give every color, give them everything. Go to the ugliest places emotionally. It doesn't always have to be beautiful because life isn't always beautiful.
That's true.
You know, and I think music steps in when words aren't enough, when, music has to happen. And I think I try to tap into that energy of like, this has to happen because there's no way else to explain certain stories or certain energy. So it's good for me to like try to get into all this esoteric stuff.
No,
it helps.
great.
I mean, it helps me.
Briana, were you going to say?
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just hyping you up over here.
Okay, you three. Let's say Mozart, Verdi, and Puccini returned from the graves and came to Seattle Opera to see your production. Knowing what you know about those composers' lives and music, what sort of conversation would you want to have with them about making them aware of the racial injustices that are present in our world and how this opera can help them see that? You are too through with me, aren't you?
I'm through.
That
I'll
was a
just walk
hard
out. Excuse me.
question.
Great choices, by the way, of composers. Really good choice.
Thank you. I mean, I'm just trying to get to know you.
Yeah.
Hey.
First of all, they have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, of course.
They missed a
That's
lot.
why they're here.
They missed a lot. And I don't know if I have the energy to catch them up on everything.
So you just like
How
watch
can we
it
give them like a,
But
in a
wait, you
nutshell?
have that library of all these different characters that you can introduce them to.
Oh, wow. I think,
I don't think they even imagine someone like me on stage, first of all. So it's an interesting thing to think about. I
Yeah,
think I
it's
always
interesting.
divorce in a way like it's like they wrote in the time they wrote and they had the mindset they had and that was what they had to work with,
Hello, but they didn't know any black people or very
Right.
few, right?
put them in their
Exactly.
operas,
So
you
they're
know.
gonna be like, what? So I think I
but
hope
that
they
could be
love
really
it.
cool though, right?
It's gonna be yes.
It's an opportunity to
Go for it, baby.
No, I'm just thinking like all of the three composers that you've mentioned have had minorities in their operas, like Tabaflutas Monostatos. That's highly problematic,
Yep.
Verdi has Otello, of course, the famous Moor of Venice. And Puccini, they even like in Fanciullo del West, they have Native Americans in that piece. So
Very
we
problematic.
existed for these composers. It's just clearly they had a limited view. They had the view of their time, like you said. Now they have so much catching up to do. They'd have to meet Barack Obama, for instance, I'm sure that would blow their minds. But I think even then, there are composers like Joseph Bologna, and luckily I get to sing a piece of his later this season, and I'm like so excited. So they actually existed. Black excellence isn't a new thing, even for those generations.
Right.
Whether we acknowledge it historically or decide to just erase people, which is what they've done, that's a different thing. But I think they know we existed. They knew that we were great. Like, they knew all these things. It's whether you acknowledge that and give it the place that it deserves, because you don't have to, like, make a new place. It's just like, stop holding people back and then just let what happens, you know? So, yeah, they knew who we were. It's just different ideas.
Yeah. I feel like we could, like, Verdi was, like, real political. I feel like we could get to him the easiest.
I want those
like the
Puccini melodies,
easiest
though.
sell.
Those Puccini melodies are.
I know, but I'm saying, like, just from a story point, like, I think he's going to be out of those three. Well, maybe Mozart, too.
But you've read Mozart's letters? He is like,
You're right. Okay,
he
the
would
two of them.
he would have a full review, you know, like,
Of course.
of the voice
So I
of
think you have to
the,
give them a history lesson. You have to catch them up on history and introduce them to the humanity. Take them to a barbecue. Let them hang out.
Not a verb.
who's making potato salad, though? Because that could
Nobody.
change the party.
None of them are making potato
Yeah.
salad.
And you give them a cultural education, and then you sit them down and let them do what they do.
Okay. So go ahead, Briana.
I got nothing.
You got nothing? Okay, well, I'm going to go with that.
Yeah,
So if you had to pair the music of this opera with dinner, what's on the menu?
Well,
There's an aria about it.
I got green beans, potatoes.
All right.
There is actually.
There's an
yeah,
aria
food
about.
is
Yeah.
pretty integral, actually, in the opera, which is, I think, one of my favorite parts.
Okay.
It was not my favorite part when Janine handed it to me at the last minute, but it was, now I love it. No, because it's very wordy, but it's awesome, and it's about the celebration of our culture through food. So, I guess, and the son is vegan. The
Yes.
father is not. That's like a big point of contention between the two of them. But
is why we
Mama
fight.
makes,
That's real
Mama
life.
prepares food for everybody, huh?
That's real life right there.
I know, yeah. So, I don't know, what do you think, Ken? What's your favorite piece on the menu in the show?
I would have to say the colored folks caviar is my favorite. So it's chitlins, and just
Chitlins?
chitlins. She calls it the colored folks caviar.
It's not for me either.
Me either. I don't care how much.
But
hot
yeah, I
sauce
mean,
you
to
put
answer
on
your
it.
question, there's an entire aria about what food. I mean, there's all the staples of soul food. Which, do you know dandelions is edible? I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that, but that's a no for me.
I did not know that, and I learned it during
Orchids,
Yeah.
some
this
orchids
piece.
as well.
For me, it's the sweet potato pie. Sweet potato anything.
So
That's
sweet
definitely on the menu, sweet potatoes.
Okay, so like if my aunt called you and said, "Hey baby, I'm getting ready to cook while listening to this opera because I've got a recording. What should I cook?"
Yes. Okay, sweet potatoes. You need collard greens. You need greens.
Okay.
With the ham hock. Yeah, with the,
Now
The
with the
right
turkey leg.
No, I think ham.
Okay. All right.
For me, in my family, but that's just me. I think, what do you think? I think short ribs. Short ribs would be on there.
Fried chicken, you have to have.
Fried chicken.
Macaroni and cheese is a must.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, mac and cheese.
So we're going to dinner after this, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause you're just like,
Black eyed peas. Black eyed peas for me. I like black eyed peas.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good menu.
That sounds good. What are we drinking?
Hennessy, you mentioned, no, I'm kidding.
Wine. Oh, I don't like wine.
No, you have to have sweet tea with soul food, man.
Sure.
Sherry. My grandmother used to cook with sherry.
Did you say sherry?
Sherry, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
One for me, one for you know.
So gentlemen, you've both been to Seattle Opera before. What sort of advice would you give Briana as she embarks on this exciting, pivotal point in her career, being that this is her debut at Seattle Opera?
I don't think she needs advice. She's got
Clear-
it.
no.
No words of affirmation?
You got this. Yeah.
No. Briana, if you know Briana, she doesn't need it.
I don't know, so that's what I'm asking.
No, no. I mean, with this role, I think she could do it anywhere, and she owns it in a way that I don't think you need to tell her anything.
Is there anything you're excited about or looking forward to with this being your debut here at Seattle Opera?
Yeah, I guess just I'm happy to be in the city. I've only been like in brief spurts, so I'm excited to actually like spend some good quality time here. I'm open to recommendations, food, places to go for hikes, walks, all that stuff.
Okay.
Let me know.
Cool. Well, I would love to know if there's anyone out there who has any questions for our guest. Does anyone have any questions?
Is this also on like the live stream?
Or through the live stream? Yes, please.
What's the process been like working with the composer and the librettist? And how has the opera changed? I guess this is the second iteration of it. The changes been made.
I think this is pretty much the version that we
Yeah.
landed on with Glimmer Glass when we premiered it. Ken and I had been on the project for a year or so prior to the premiere, and so yes, it definitely evolved in that time. Like I said, like the epilogue didn't even exist
Right.
at first.
Right.
So we've seen several iterations. It is kind of nice. I mean, it was when I say like it's a dream role, like a dream character, it's also a dream experience to live with, to work with the living composer, because especially to be on a project as early as we were, because I think there were things that we were able to affect in the writing of the piece. Like we would sing through it and then, you know, you'd be like, you know what, this is too high for, like, this is too much on this note. Like, can we take it down? Or can I do this? Or can I tweak this? Or this is how I feel it, really. And there were opportunities to do that. And that's really incredibly special and rare. They were so receptive and open to us. And I think that was incredible. Janine and Taz are wonderful.
Yeah. It was very much a collaboration between, you know, what was comfortable for us as artists, as opposed to what she originally wrote and, you know, heard in her head. So being, like I said, being involved very early was such a special treat. I mean, to collaborate with Janine Tesori and Tazwell Thompson is very special. So the roles, you know, kind of fit like a glove. And I remember being in a coaching or talking to Janine about it, and she's like, you know, Ken, like someone else has to be able to sing this role. So I can't do everything that you want, but a lot of it I got.
Thank you. Are there other questions for our guest? Yes, please.
Yeah.
So what was
At
the
what
last part?
age were you interested in going into opera?
Probably not till college, honestly, for me, undergrad, because it wasn't super on my radar. I was a drama student and I was a theater major, and I grew up, first of all, I would sing if no one wanted to hear me sing. I was that kid. So I just got really lucky that people liked it because I was constantly going to sing. My sister makes fun. She says I would sing like in an elevator if there was like music going on. I was like humming to that. Like it didn't matter like what it was. I was singing it. But I had teachers kind of guide me and hand me like my first aria, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. And I think so. It wasn't Trovatore wasn't my first opera. Madame Butterfly was, and I just remember being like, okay, I need to know more. I need to know more. But I was a musical theater kid and a theater kid first before the world of opera was open to me much later in life. And consequently, like you really shouldn't start training to sing opera until you're a little older anyway. So it just worked out. But yeah, my parents were definitely like, "You want to do what?" like very supportive, but they were like, okay, we did not see things going in this direction at all. But now, I've made opera, we've made opera lovers out of them too, because they've seen, I think just about every show I've ever done. And so, yeah, it does seem strange, and we definitely get those looks, when you meet someone like, oh, hi, what do you do? Oh, I'm an opera singer, and it's kind of like, it like kind of stops the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like that too. I personally like that about what I do too, a little bit.
I think I sang for a long time just because it was fun and people were asking me to sing and people eventually started paying me to sing. It wasn't until I was an Adler Fellow in San Francisco Opera's program that it's funny, singers were notoriously, we love to sleep at and we work late all the time. So I was getting coffee in my pajamas with a colleague, and I was in the coffee shop and I saw a bunch of people in their suits and suitcases, briefcases, running the rat race, going to the office, grabbing coffee. And we were just lounging, taking our time in our pajamas. And it was at that moment that I realized that I was supporting myself singing, and I was paying my bills. I was living this life that I hadn't imagined, that I was able to really live. And it wasn't until then that I started calling myself an opera singer. Until then, it was just fun. But it was at that point, it was like, okay, this is who I am. This is what my life is going to be. How old was I? Mm-hmm. Probably about 27. Yeah.
Josh?
Let's see. I guess I was 16. I was doing jazz, and all my jazz mentors was like, oh, you should study classical voice for the technique, then you can sing forever. That was the idea when I went into it. And then while I was studying, they were like, oh, wow, you're really good at this. Like, that's amazing. Like, you should really go into this. And I was like, I don't know. Because at the time, I didn't really like classical music. I thought it was highly predictable. I was like, oh, I could guess the next note. It didn't have any of the thing that I love about jazz, which is the spontaneity and all these things. I didn't know as much as I do now, of course. But then I kind of got into it. I told them I did not want to sing Porgy and Bess ever. I was like, if that's the only thing that I'm allowed to sing, I don't want to sing it. So then they gave me a CD of Leontine Price, and my whole world changed. She sang everything better than everyone. It was amazing. Happy birthday to her. She was like, So I think she changed my life, and the opera that made me love opera when I was 16. Because at the time I wanted to be a doctor as well, so I was always into this stuff with Salome. The idea that on stage they chop someone's head off and show, it was crazy to me. And I was like, this is cool, wow. Because there's no other art form you can get away with doing certain things and people paying and clapping about it, So yeah, I think it was very appealing to a young boy, It's good to sing this role since he is 16, so it reminds me of the argument I had with my mother about trying to go to, I'm from New Orleans, and there was a place in Biloxi where Placido Domingo was going to do a concert, and we had a huge argument about I want to see Placido. It was crazy. So it's funny that we're going to have an argument tomorrow about something actually important, not a Domingo concert. So yeah, it's 16, everything changed.
Are there other questions for our panel?
Yeah, we've got a few in the live stream. The first one is, at this point we have Blue and Fire Ship in My Bones, which are both in English. Are there any other works we should expect that feature stories of Black joy?
Joy.
Who wants to take that?
Intimate Apparel. If anyone's in New York right now, Intimate Apparel is on at the Lincoln Center Theater. I was a part of that workshop. It's by Ricky and Gordon and Lynn Nottage, who wrote the play, which starred Viola Davis originally, and now it's an opera, and it's gorgeous, and I highly recommend it, and you should go. I think I'm coming up at LA Opera. We're doing an opera called Omar, about a black man who was an African man. He was a mathematician, scholar, and was taken on a slave ship to South Carolina. I'm not sure. I can't actually tell you 100% everything that's going to be because I haven't started it yet, but that'll be coming up this fall. So that's coming down the pipeline. And I know there's a few other things down the pipeline in process at the moment.
I know Champion, the Met's going to do Champion coming up.
Yeah, that's
soon.
all another Terrence Blanchard.
Another Terrence Blanchard. But, I mean, I love the term Black Joy. I think a lot of pieces right now are focus a lot on Black trauma. And we think, I mean, writing pieces about history, I would love to see some new fictional Black Joy pieces being written. And I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're in the works. But, yeah, I mean, I think we are waiting. That's what we're waiting for. Yeah. I think that's what each of us have been talking about. We're waiting for pieces to be written that celebrate culture and our culture specifically.
Yeah, I think all those shows have some element of joy, though. Do you say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. But I mean, I think often when we talk about Black opera, I mean, and you talk about Champion, it's about a black man killing another black.
No, yeah, I know.
There's trauma that's, I mean,
totally.
We always talk about wanting a black, opera comedy, that.
Yeah, an opera buffa.
Martin the Opera.
Oh!
Yeah. I mean,
How cool would that be? No, it's already set. Like, the characters are so, full already. That
Yeah.
You could do Living Single
Don't do
the
this
Opera.
to
You know?
me. I love it.
Yeah. So I think that's
That
where
would be
that's where we're going. I think that's where we want to go. I think
Yeah.
that's the push and the fight that we're having as artists. We're wanting to celebrate black excellence and Black joy, detached from the negative history that is often attached to Black history.
Other questions?
Okay, sorry. Next question is, are European opera companies producing or planning to produce Blue? Or do you have a sense of the degree in which these discussions are happening in opera companies in Europe?
I know E&O is doing a production in 2023, and Dutch National Opera is doing a production at the end of this year. I don't know of any other companies in Europe thinking about producing it.
It's interesting because it is very American rooted. This story.
Yeah, I mean,
meaning-
it's this story, yes, but it's all over the world, I mean,
Yes, of
and
course.
blues, I mean, we talk about family. I mean, the idea of family and that archetype of a mother, father, it crosses all boundaries.
We're both right.
I mean, police shootings. I mean, police shootings are. I mean, we get the stories in the U.S., but they're happening all over the
Oh,
world.
they happen in Germany. Yeah,
I love
definitely.
this.
Sorry, mama.
Next question.
Another one was, do you guys have any dream roles, and expand that not only to roles in opera, but roles in other stories that you've heard?
Yeah, I mean, so opera roles. Speaking of Trovatore, I definitely want to do Azucena one day. That's like Eboli in Don Carlo. I want to sing Sesto. I want to sing some more pants roles. No one ever gives me pants roles, but I think it's fun, like gender bending. To sing like an Octavian or a Sesto, any of the Sestos from Cesare or Clemenza. I really love French and obscure French rep that like they never do here. But hopefully they will very soon for me, And then as far as that, I just, hi, Issa Rae, I'm just like waiting for you to call me so I can have a role in whatever is coming down your pipeline. Yeah, I'm here for that. Yeah, I'll leave it.
Wow. Okay, so I'm full of hopes and dreams because, like, why not? You should win in your own mind, right? So, dream roles. I would love to sing Othello, the Rossini one, the Verdi one. I'd also love to act the play. I think it's a very interesting guy in the Shakespeare play. It's like so colorful, so many moments, so much nuance. Yeah, I think somehow that character keeps popping up in my life somehow. I'm like reading a Paul Robeson biography, and he did amazing performances of it in New York as well as London. And in New York, they were so against him. They just took him out of the history book. Like, his performances didn't even happen when you do like the full history of Broadway or all these things. To this day, he doesn't get mentioned for his accomplishments. And I think of opera singers, he's like a guy who could also have a story worth becoming an opera. He was an athlete, an activist, a singer, an actor. Like, there's so many things. Kind of everything he did well. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to like do more new pieces. I love new things because all opera was new at some point, you know. I would love to just do anything new. I like new stuff.
Yeah. Interesting you say Paul Robeson. I just did a recording of a piece that's being written about him, which I immediately signed on to sing. I'm a huge fan of Malcolm X and what he stood for, and just the way he thought as a person and the way he held himself in the public eye, dealing with so much, you know, backlash and so much controversy. Just the strength of that man. I'm dying to sing, you know, Anthony Davis's Malcolm X. King Philip is one of those, you know, that Verdi, that Don Carlo role, that every bass dream. Like, I'm sure I'll get there at some point. I'm dying to sing that as well. But I'm really interested to see the new works that are being written. Like, that's, I've gotten this question of the dream role quite a few times, and my answer has often been that it hasn't been written yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
We've got one last question. What do you do to recover from such an intense emotional journey each night?
You love harder. Yeah, I mean that's the easiest answer for me. Is you love harder and you care deeper. You know, that connection that you notice between Briana and I. I mean, it's because we love harder after going through this experience together. You care about your colleague more after, you know, traversing so many emotions together. You look at society in a very different way. Your perspective is changed. And yeah, you love deeper and you care harder.
That and ice cream helps. My dog helps, and I like to watch like my favorite movies, like that make me feel good. Like, I do things that just like remind me of joy, of my joy, things that remind me that I am safe, that I am okay in my body at the moment, and lots of sleep.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I
He's
haven't
done it.
done
He'll
that.
figure it out. Answer
I've done
you
other
soon.
traumatic operas, but not this one, so I'll save it.
Well, thank you all so much, Briana, Kenneth, and Josh. Wishing you all the best on your upcoming performance and all of your rehearsals. This was such a pleasure to get to know the three of you and talk to you, and thank you for letting us in just a little bit to learning about Blue and just learning a little bit more about your lives. Thank you all so much on the live stream as well as here in the audience for coming. This opera, Blue, opens on February 26th, and it runs until March 12th in McCall Hall. You can buy tickets online now if you go to seattleopera.org. I'm Dr. Quinton Morris, and it's been a pleasure to host this and moderate this conversation, and I hope that you all come and see these amazing artists and support the production Blue here at Seattle Opera. Thank you so much for coming. Good night.